Hello everyone, my name is Sharif, and this is an online video series where I try to recollect my childhood PS2 collection without spending any money. And as you can see, it's the middle of winter right now. Most of the collecting I've done so far has been in person, but in the winter time, a lot of times people just don't want to go outside, so it's hard to do meetups. So I'm going to have to do something a little bit more creative in order to continue this series at this time of year. I want to take advantage of this downtime by trying to improve my video game console repair skills. So in this video, I'm going to spend as much money as I can on broken PS2 consoles from the Goodwill online auction site and try to repair them. The goal is simple: acquire broken consoles, repair them, and flip them for profit. That way I'm getting a bigger budget for future game hunting episodes, and we're getting consoles that otherwise would end up in the trash back into circulation. So the first step is to get onto Goodwill's auction site and start bidding on anything that looks like it might be worth fixing. Okay, I thought it would be a little bit boring to just order all of the stuff and wait for it to come in off camera, so I'm going to try to do some live bidding so that maybe we can capture some of these that I might win or lose, just so you guys can see how the process goes. Now, when we ended off our last episode, we had $164, so that's a decent amount of money. I already pre-looked through the listings for the last few days and favorited some of the ones that I want to try to actually get, and we've got a few of these that are ending right now. So this first one that I've got right here is basically two broken consoles. One of them is a black and a silver, but they're both slims. And this one right now only has one bid for $14.99. Just put in a bid now, and then we'll come back. This actually ends tomorrow, but I'm going to put in a bid for $40. And I'm the highest bidder. If you can get each one of them for $20, obviously we have to pay shipping and fees as well, but $20 for each one, we can get it, sell the consoles for like 80 or 90 bucks. That would be a really good flip, but I just think that this one's going to get a few more bids put in there because there's a full day in left and people like to come in at the last second. And this one I actually thought was the same exact listing, but it's actually a different listing. But this one ends in 5 days. I'm just going to bid the same amount, $40. So for those of you who don't understand how the Goodwill auctions work, if you put in whatever you want your maximum amount to be, then if anyone bids under that, then you'll get the winnings for that amount. So for example, this one is listed for $9.99, but I bid $40. If someone else bids $20, then I'll win it for $20, or sometimes they'll make it like $21. Like I'll win for one more dollar than the other person. But then if it goes past the $40 and someone bids $50, then I'm just out, right? Okay, so we have one that is actually ending tonight. This one is a fat console that's going for $31, and what I'm doing right now is just refreshing the page to see how many people are bidding on it. There's 2 minutes left. I already put my bid in, so we have an additional bid in there, so I'm going to put another bid for $37, and it says I'm already outbid. So then when I did that, notice how the amount went up, so it's kind of showing me now more what people are actually paying. It's not, doesn't really want to tell you what the highest bidder actually put in exactly. So that one didn't work out. I didn't want to spend that much on it because it was just one console compared to the other ones that were two, and also it's a fat console and those are harder to repair, at least for me so far. The slim ones are significantly easier to do, so we'll go on to the next one. So this one is another fat one. This one's ending in 8 minutes. I'm gonna bid $58 on this one, and I've already been outbid, but it looks like we're not going to get this one either. I'm going to bid $55 again on this one. It's another fat console, and on this one I am the highest bidder, but it's ending in 2 hours, so we'll see what ends up happening with this one. Then this next one, same thing. It's a fat console. It just says that there's no power cord, so they didn't test it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bid $57. It's going to end in 37 seconds. So 25 seconds, 23 seconds. I think I'm going to lose this one. I got to bid a little bit more. I'm going to bid 60. and I've already been outbid. So somebody bid way higher than me. So I guess we'll just wait and see how much they ended up winning this one for. Oh man, they ended up winning it for 61. If I would have bid $1 or $2 more in that last second, I would have gotten it, but we lost out on that one. All right, this one is actually a console that comes with games, and I don't even think it's broken. Right now it's at $92. I'm gonna bid $105 on it. And I'm the highest bidder for this one. There's 23 seconds left, so 10 seconds left. It still says there's 10 bids, so no one else has bid on it. Auction ended, 11 bids. So someone else just bid on it last second. Yeah, I won it for 103. So this last person bid under me. So I got lucky with this one. This one's gonna be huge because it actually has games with the console, and I'm pretty sure it works. So once we get it in, we'll be able to just test it, keep the games we want, and then sell the console. So that one should be pretty good. Okay, we got our first order in, and this one is coming from Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's always interesting to see where these come from. Let's open this thing up. Okay, this is a bit of an oversized box, but it looks like we've got the games in this bag right here. This console looks to be in pretty good condition. It's actually decently clean as well. Okay, first off, we've got a OEM controller in here, and now here are all of the games. None of these boxes are cracked or beat up. So let me lay all of these games out so we can see what we've got here. These games are actually not bad. We got a Final Fantasy game in here, Rainbow Six, a Tom Clancy game. I don't know which SpongeBob game it was that people were telling me is like one of the best games on the console, but I know some of these SpongeBob games back in the day were pretty good. And for some reason, there's 2 copies of Sly 3. Now, I've actually never played a Sly Cooper game somehow. The Sly Cooper series is on my wanted list. These DDR games, I remember my sisters loved this series, but I would definitely be letting these go. So I'm going to separate this into piles of stuff that I don't really mind selling with the console. So we'd basically be keeping half of these, selling the other half. So we have to test this console and controller to make sure that everything works and test all of these games on that console. So let's head over to the TV and do that now. Okay, I've got the console hooked up on the floor here, and when I plugged it in, the red light came on, so that's always a good sign. Let's open the tray and see if it'll turn on. Look at that, we actually have a bonus game in here. It's Sly 2, Band of Thieves. That's amazing because I thought we only had 2 copies of Sly 3. But the bad news is I'm getting no signal on the TV. So let me first make sure it's on the right channel. Okay, there you go. Rule number 1 of testing a console, make sure that your TV is on the proper channel. Let's throw a disc in there. How about the one that was already in there? We'll throw this one in and see if it loads up. And look at that, disc is being read. So that's really good news. I'm actually going to throw a memory card in here to make sure it's actually reading that as well. And then what I like to do is just play through 10 to 15 minutes of each one of these games to test them. And something that somebody else was saying in my comment section in one of my previous videos is that it's important to test that the PlayStation actually reads all types of discs. So discs that have the blue back, the white back, CDs as well. So, but let's just go through and test all of this stuff and see how much of this stuff actually works. So far, it's in pretty good shape. Okay, after cleaning everything up and doing some research, this is the pile that I'm deciding to sell. Obviously, we're selling the console with the cords and the controller, and then I'm also selling one of the copies of Sly 3, and then I'm adding 2 more games to this sell pile as well. First up is a disc-only copy of Prince of Persia and the Sands of Time. If you guys remember from my previous episode, I just got a copy of this with the case, so I'm going to be listing my original copy that was just disc only in here as well. And then I'm also actually going to add that copy of Sly 2 that was in this PS2 console. It's mostly because it's actually a pretty common game, and I'm sure I'm going to come across it again at some point while I'm doing these videos. And I'm really not trying to keep games that are disc only unless it's stuff that I really think I'm not going to be able to find again. That's going to make a pretty cool little Sly console bundle for whoever picks this up. Also, a lot of you guys were hating me in my early videos because I was selling disc only games in paper cases. I didn't know that so many of you cared so much about that. I see video game stores and other places giving out paper cases all the time, but I do also recognize that having an actual case for a game is significantly better for preventing the chances of it getting damaged in shipment, and it's just a little bit nicer as well. These are really cheap, so I just got a big box of blank DVD cases, and whenever I get rid of disc only games, I'm going to be putting them in these DVD cases from now on. This stack of games came with the console as well, but I'm not going to be selling them with the console. I'm just starting a new pile of games that I'm eventually going to be trading into a game store. And the main one in this pile that I wanted to talk about is actually Final Fantasy XI. Initially, I thought this was a game that I wanted to keep because I actually heard that the servers were still up for this game, even though it's a completely online game. It turns out the servers are up for it, but not on the PlayStation version. You can still play it on PC if you wanted to. So even though this is a super clean copy of it, the PlayStation version is completely useless. But for some reason, if you look it up on eBay, it's still worth like between $10 and $20. Not sure exactly why, but I'm not going to be keeping this on my shelf because it's literally a game that I cannot play, and I don't want to list it with the console because whoever gets this console will not be able to play this game. And finally, these games are the games that I'm going to be keeping from this bundle. As I mentioned already, I'll be keeping Sly 3, Rainbow Six, and this James Bond game. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw these on my shelf. My console and stuff is ready to be listed, so I'm gonna go ahead and list that for sale. And then we just have to wait for that to sell before we can get more consoles and try to fix them. Luckily, I didn't really have to do anything with this one. This process went on for a while, and I ended up just losing out on a lot of these bids, but eventually I ended up winning another one off camera. This one only had one other bid on it besides me, and it was for $24, so I ended up winning it for $25. It says functionality not tested, and it says condition for parts or not working. So I think I mentioned this in my previous Goodwill episode that a lot of times they just don't have the cords for these, so they get the donations in and they just don't test them, and then they'll just list them up there as if they're broken because they don't know. So this one very well may work. It's really a 50-50, but for $25, it's not bad. So this is the total that we're going to have to pay for this slim console in order to get it to my door. Okay, these packages came in the mail today, and I actually ended up winning another PlayStation that's pretty much the same story as the other one. Supposedly broken PS2 that just states that the functionality was not tested. I won that one for $30, so we're just gonna open both of these up and see what the deal is. Okay, here's the console. This actually looks like it's kind of been cleaned. This has definitely been cleaned. Yeah, it's definitely like a car cleaner or something, like car plastic cleaner. That's interesting that they would do that on a console that they think is broken. Let's open this one up as well. Okay, this one is also in the same kind of packaging as the other one. Doesn't look like it was cleaned like the other one though, but there's something rattling around in there, so that's not good. But now that I have both of these out, I'm just gonna plug these into the TV, test them out, and see what's wrong with them. Okay, I got the first one hooked up to my TV here. When I plugged it in, the red light immediately came on, so that's a good sign. We know it's getting power. We're gonna be testing this out with one of my favorite racing games, Burnout 3. I've been playing a lot of Burnout 3 lately, so it was just kind of on top of the pile. So let's throw that in there. See what happens when we turn it on. And it is not reading. Now, one of the things I learned about these door sensors is that sometimes they need a little bit of weight on the lid to trigger. So let's put a GameCube on top of there, because I don't know if you ever noticed, but this is the exact same size as the door. The system comes on and everything. It just says the disc can't be read. Let's plug in the other one and see what the issue is with that one. And so far, same story. It's coming on. And this one immediately didn't read it. The other one kind of like tried to read it for a second. So this one says it's reading the disc though, right here. So, oh, look at that. So far, so good. So everything's working so far, so I'm just gonna stick a memory card in. And it's reading the memory card too, so. All right, well, with that, I know that this one's working. I just did a few races on here and we're in good shape. I just need to test it with a few other disc types. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this one, but let's open this one up to see what is actually going on with this one that's not reading. This one still has the warranty sticker on there, so it's actually never been opened before. And that also tells me that even though this has been cleaned, it's just basically gotten an outside cleaning. You know, the inside of this is actually pretty clean as well. I learned in a previous episode that the first thing I should be looking at with these slim PS2 consoles that are not reading discs is not actually the laser, because the laser might still be good. It's the door sensors. The first thing I'm gonna do is manually press them. There's one right here on the front, and then there's one back here as well. So if that doesn't work, then I'm going to put some cleaner inside of these. If it still doesn't read from there, then I'm going to look at the laser, because that's a much bigger repair and that actually costs money. But repairing these is basically free because you just clean them. So I'm basically just gonna plug this back in, throw our disc back on there. So I'm looking at the TV screen right now. You guys can't see it, but it's not reading. It's just on the main screen again. And obviously the disc is struggling to spin. kind of going in and out here. But it did recognize that I was pressing the buttons because the laser did move back and forth. If I press these, you can hear it. And you can actually see it there. So it knows I'm pressing them. But I've had a console like this before where it knew I was pressing it and it still wasn't reading until I cleaned those sensors. So let's clean those sensors now. So what I'm using to clean this is this stuff right here. It's BW100 electronic contact cleaner. But I like this one because it comes with a straw on the end of it so that we can spray this cleaner directly into these connectors. Our first button is right here. So I'm gonna spray a little bit in there. Press it a few times. It's already loosened up quite a bit. I'm gonna put a little bit more and work that into the button there. And then our other button is down back in here. So I'm just gonna do the same thing. Spray a little bit into the button. And yeah, they were stuck a bit, so let's try that now. So far, the disc is kind of doing the same on and off spinning. And it's not reading. So I'm gonna have to say this one probably does need a new laser. I think I have one. Let me check to see if I have one. Okay, I actually got very lucky because I have a few of these. I have 3 of them right now that came out of other PS2s a while ago. So ordinarily, if you didn't just have these laying around like I do, you would have to go buy these on Amazon. I think they cost anywhere from $15 to $25, and they're basically just recreations of the original part. So they're not OEM, but they do the same thing. And they're actually very easy to replace. All you need to do is take out a few screws, and then you'll be able to remove this entire sensor. And then you'll just replace this piece that connects to these threads that move it up and down. And then you'll replace this ribbon. You'll just unplug it from this one, plug it into your other one, and then we'll test it to see if this laser is working. And if this one isn't working, I have 2 more right here, but I'm gonna try this one because this one's the cleanest. Just got to be really careful when removing this ribbon, because if I tear that, then we are in deep trouble. On the back of these, there's actually a little lever that lifts up and down, and that allows you to remove the ribbon more easily. When it's closed down, that means it's clamping down on it. Okay, I'm just gonna close that clamp down now. And that ribbon is in there. Then I'm just gonna fold this back carefully where it's supposed to go. And then it fits into a little slot on the side right here. And then we can put our little rod back in. And then this tucks in on the top up here, and it tucks in down here on the bottom. And that rod back there is just to basically guide this when it's moving back and forth. And there's a little bracket on the front and the back of that are meant for holding that in place, that hold those brackets in. It's a good idea to use tweezers if you have them to hold some of this stuff, because it's really tiny. Okay, and then the last step is to put this little bracket back on here that grabs the threads over here that allows this to move up and down, and put the little screw back in that holds that down. And just like that, we have replaced this laser. So let's try again with a game disc and see what happens this time. All right, testing this out. I know you guys can't see the screen right now, but it says reading disc on the screen, but it seems to be just doing the same thing it was doing before. So we'll see if the disc actually comes up here. Same thing came up on the screen. It says the disc cannot be read, and then it stopped trying to turn. So we cleaned the sensors here and here. We replaced the laser. So the only thing I can do now is replace the laser again with one of these. Okay, it's the next day now, and I've looked at everything, and I just think there's no way that this should not be working, because we cleaned the door sensors and I replaced the laser, and the laser that's in here is actually a brand new one that came in this box right here. I found the box for it, so it should be working. I just went back and I took more of this contact cleaner and I cleaned these door sensor buttons again. So I'm just going to try it again. Maybe these door sensor buttons were still just not registering. What a lot of people will do with these, especially the one in the back, they'll actually just remove the button and then solder the connection together so it's just permanently connected. So that might be what I have to try next. But we're just going to try it. I have it all hooked up again, and we're going to see if this will read. There it is. So, moral to the story, if you change the laser and it's still not working, it's probably the door sensors. This is the second time where I changed the laser, and then I cleaned the door sensors, and then it worked. So I thought I was preemptively dealing with that by cleaning the door sensors first, but I need to clean them multiple times in this case. This really is a flaw in the design of these slim PS2s. I mean, every single one so far that I've gotten that's been broken, the issue is that it's not reading discs, and it's either you clean the door sensors, replace the laser, or both. That's just what you have to do, and then all of a sudden it just works like brand new every time. So unfortunately, I've got some bad news for the one that I tested that initially worked. I was doing some more extensive testing on it by just trying to play through some more games on it, and it was doing this thing where it would start skipping or just outright stop playing the game and just freeze on the screen. So I think the reason why it's doing that is because it also needs the door sensors cleaned, and it's thinking that you're just basically opening up the door midway through playing a game. And sometimes I would put a disc in and turn it on for the initial boot up, but the disc wouldn't spin at all. So usually if the disc is not spinning at all, that means that those door sensors think that the door is not closed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open that one up because I was gonna clean it anyway, and I'll just clean out those door sensors and then keep testing it. Okay, after all of that extra cleaning, the console seems to be working completely flawlessly now. I've had it on for 3 or 4 hours now straight, no skips or anything. I know some of you say that I've been over testing some of these consoles, but I'm really serious about testing these because my biggest fear is that somebody buys one of these, they get it in their house, get all excited, then try to turn it on and something's wrong with it. So I want to really make sure that if they're playing it for hours on end, everything's going to go smooth. So with that, I'm going to just bundle in a bunch of loose games with this console and list it on eBay. In one of these bundles that I'm doing is going to be a PS1 game that I got in a previous episode, and this case is just in terrible condition. So I actually also got some blank CD cases, and these are exactly the same as the old PS1 cases. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap this case completely because the artwork is still good, but the case itself is just in terrible shape. Man, that looks so much better in this new, brand new clean case than this old beat up, dirty one. So I think I'm gonna do that almost every single time with PS1 games because for some reason they're just always filthy. But now that I was able to do that, I'm just going to list this bundle for sale here, and then I've got another bundle here. So let's just take photos for all that stuff, post them up on eBay, and wait for that to sell. So I'm actually at work right now, and someone just messaged me on eBay. It looks like they are some kind of a video game or electronics resale store. And this person basically just asked if I can modify my description on one of the listings so that they can buy both of those consoles together and just ship them together in one order for $220. Then I just have to repackage everything and send it out tonight all in one box. Thank you, Tim. So last night I was scrolling through the Goodwill site trying to find another console, and I ended up getting into a bidding war with someone. And I ended up winning it for $54, which initially I thought was way too much money to spend on a broken PlayStation. But I didn't have enough time to fully look at what I was bidding on, and I was willing to spend a little bit more because this console was blue. But after I won it and I went back to look at the title and the description, I noticed something a little bit interesting. There are a few different blue consoles out there, and initially I thought this one was the aqua blue variant, but it actually says that this one is the Toys R Us variant. I didn't know that this existed beforehand, but if you look at the model number, if it has a TB in there, I believe that stands for Toys Blue, which is a slightly different shade of blue from the aqua blue version. From what I found, there were supposedly only 5,000 of these ever made, and they were sold exclusively at Toys R Us stores in Japan only. When I saw that, I went on eBay to see how many of them are really in circulation and how much they're going for. And it took me a little longer than expected to find these listings, which probably confirms that there really aren't that many out there. And the listings I did find are selling anywhere from $200 to $500. From what I can see, most of these listings are coming from Japan, so who knows how many of these are even in the United States. It also looks like these special edition consoles usually came with a copy of Ratchet & Clank and a matching controller. So I wonder how many people walked past this on the shelf and just thought, oh, that's just another bundle for a PS2, and decided to skip it, not knowing that that was actually going to be one of the most rare variants of the PS2 ever made. But anyway, after shipping and fees, I ended up paying a total of $68.88. So now all that's left to do is wait for it to show up and check it out. There it is. The model number might be under that. That's pretty dirty in there. Oh, it's on this side. Now, you guys can correct me in the comments section if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure this is not the Toys R Us variant of the PlayStation 2. When I'm looking at the model number, I don't see anything that says TB anywhere in here. I see AQ, which would lead me to believe that this is the aqua blue variant of the PS2, which is significantly less rare. Goodwill did say that it was the Toys R Us one, so they probably just looked up like blue PS2 and just figured that that was the only one, so they just put that on there. Now, it is still a Japanese only model though, so I think this is region locked and can only play Japanese PS2 games. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to test this out the way I tested the rest of the consoles in this episode, because I just don't have any Japanese PS2 games in my possession right now. So I guess all I can do at the moment is just plug it in, see if it turns on, see if it gives me an image on the screen, and we'll go from there. Well, unfortunately, when I plug this in, we're not getting a light here when I hit the switch in the back, but maybe the light itself is just out, so we'll just hit the buttons and see if anything happens. And nothing's happening. Well, it seems this PlayStation is not getting power. It's not the model that I thought it was, and I don't even have any games to test it if I was able to get it turned on. So I think what I'm going to do is repair this console in a future episode, because this video is already getting pretty long. When I thought that this was going to be the Toys R Us model, I was going back and forth in my head with the idea of selling it or keeping it. But I decided that I was definitely going to try to keep any rare consoles like that, because I don't know if I'm ever going to come across any of them again. And I think I'm going to give this one the same treatment as well. Although it's not as rare as the Toys R Us model, it's still just really cool to see the PlayStation that I grew up with in a totally different color. It just looks totally different this way. So I think when I find these, I'm going to add them to my collection. I still want to repair this one and get it working, but I'll just have it working and have a Japanese console for myself to use whenever I get any Japanese games, so I don't have to mod my regular system in order to play any of those Japanese games. Our final budget and all of the stuff we were able to collect in this episode should be on the screen right now. And I know I started off this video trying to get my budget higher, but it just didn't turn out that way with the way that everything ended with our last console. But that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.